Caught in the chilly shadow of Detroit is Dearborn, Michigan. Population 97,000. An all-American town on the industrial belt. Big Macs, big cars, and home to that American icon, the Ford Motor Company. And yet, this too is Dearborn, home to the largest Arab American community in the country. Here, East meets West. Desert cultures superimposed on an icy Middle American landscape. The United States has around 3 million Arab Americans. Here in Dearborn, 1/3 of the population is Arab American. Many have been here for decades, their children and grandchildren born in America. Yet this minority is now feeling deeply victimised, cast collectively as terrorist sympathisers and made the target of bigots on the street and in government.
Rashid Alam cannot speak or eat solid food. The 18-year-old needed reconstructive surgery on his jaw after an attack the night of February 22nd.
Across the nation, hate crimes have left Arab Americans fearful for their safety.
Rashid's brother, who was in the group, says suddenly several cars pulled up and up to 20 young men got out carrying bats and golf clubs and shouting racial slurs.
But it is the government they fear will take away their freedom.
What could this be all about, Sammy? It's all about politics. It's all about politics. Have they told you why they're arrested?
Everybody feels like their house is wired, that their phones are tapped. Everybody feels that maybe somebody's following them. So they're not as able to express their opinions. They're not as able to just discuss day-to-day politics with somebody without a fear of, it's almost a joke nowadays, like, oh, I wonder if they're listening, because every family really feels like that magnifying glass is looming over them as well. My sister and I were both born here in America. We're very much proud to be Arab, at the same time proud to be American.
21-year-old law student Brenda Abdalal has seen her community grow more and more fearful.
They do feel particularly vulnerable, especially with the war coming up. Our community has been targeted since September 11th, and it will continue to be targeted.
He told me he was in Egypt.
Her Egyptian-born parents came here more than 30 years ago. Both work for the Ford Motor Company and call the U.S. home.
Yeah, I know. He said he used to write on food. Lots of the time now I say, why are we here? Why don't we just sell everything and just go home? We've been here for 30 years, working very hard. He works 2 jobs, I work 2 jobs. We raised such a beautiful family. And to put in a difficult situation like this, I think is very disappointing.
The first hate email I received was actually at 11:30 a.m. on September 11th. And that first email said, "May a bomb fall on your house." Well, this was actually sent to me just on Thursday. He addressed it to me and he referred to me as Princess. He says, "To think I was in the U.S. service so that freedom and right of expression was allowed by your kind to build bombs and kill us because you are jealous of our prosperity. Go home and suck up to your dictator leaders. Pass this on to all your Arab, Muslim, Sikh, stupid associates." After a while, when you receive so many of them, it's really sad that it's almost numbing that, it's almost normal.
It was Arabs, outsiders, who flew the planes on September 11. But the wide net cast by federal authorities has dragged the entire Arab American community under suspicion. Thousands of their men have been forced to register, to be interviewed, some detained. Their religion has been ridiculed.
If you consider that Muhammad is the prophet of Allah, you look at what he said, what he instructed his followers to do, and then what they did for 1,400 years of unrelenting warfare against Europe and the Christian world, then you begin to say, well, this is the way they are.
Pat Robertson, others, they started accusing Islam and saying Prophet Muhammad was a terrorist and insulting the Muslim community. At that time, we expected our president to to stop this situation stronger.
In response to the attacks of September 11, President George W. Bush gave law enforcement authorities wide-sweeping powers under the new Patriot Act. Greater powers of surveillance, wiretapping, the use of secret evidence and closed court hearings have become part of the war on terror. FBI agents have been assigned to covertly monitor mosques.
To come and secretly collecting information and this type of thing, we thought it to be very insulting and very negative, and we didn't like the idea.
Led by Attorney General John Ashcroft, a campaign is underway to rid the US not only of those linked to terrorism, but those suspected of being so.
We will bring justice to the full network of terror.
Mr. Ashcroft made a statement to me that was appalling, that he said that you should be thankful that nothing happened to you like what happened to the Japanese.
Meaning?
That we should have been put in intern camps, in the detention camps.
The spectre of internment camps strikes a deep chord of fear among new Americans. After the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, war hysteria gripped the US, and President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed orders to forcibly intern 120,000 people of Japanese descent. 2/3 were American citizens. They languished in camps for the duration of the war. Arab American leaders want to believe the US would never commit such an act today, but they cannot predict how deep anti-Arab sentiment will eventually run.
When you're focusing on a particular community, and let's say you're not an Arab or a Muslim American, many people think, well, if our government's doing that, then there must be something there. And so there's that cloud of suspicion that Ashcroft and the policies of our government help reinforce.
At the mosque where the Abdulal family prays, the community has rallied around this woman, Salma al-Rashid. Her husband has been held in detention for 15 months, accused of links to terrorism.
My husband has no link whatsoever to terrorism, and he is the first one, among the first people to stand up after September 11th and cry against that. He has not done anything wrong. If being a Muslim is wrong, then he's done something wrong.
Rabi Haddad co-founded the Global Relief Fund, one of the biggest Arab American charity organizations in the US. Its mission was to provide money, supplies, and medicine to the needy. The United States government claims it was linked to Al-Qaeda and Palestinian terrorist networks. The fund is alleged to have accepted money from a former assistant to Osama bin Laden. Rabi Haddad is now fighting deportation to Lebanon on a visa violation. He has not been charged with any crime, nor has the government proven he personally knew of ties to terrorist organizations.
All those who were arrested after September 11th that had any charge, any link to September, were charged, had their day in court, and it's done. Rabi Haddad is still behind bars, a year and 3 months, no charges. What is this? What is this? How long does it take? For heaven's sakes, how long?
West, which is what you're in now, is primarily, there are very few Arab American people that live here. And when I grew up, this is the home I grew up in right here to your right. Myself and my cousin, we were the only two in our graduating class that were Arab American. So this is kind of the East and West are actually divided as far as racial neighborhoods.
Young Dearborn lawyer Mo Abed-Rabo has been swamped with civil rights cases.
Morning again, Your Honor. Attorney Mo Abed-Rabo appearing on behalf of Khalil.
The law, he says, is zeroing in on Arab Americans.
Granting the motion to dismiss the expired license charge this time.
Thank you.
There's absolutely no doubt about it in every area of the law. I've noticed a more stringent application of it and more selective enforcement of it.
To Arab Americans?
Yes. This particular drawers here are post-September 11th cases that I've dealt with. Discrimination cases, employment discrimination cases, all the way to civil suits that we filed based on violation of civil rights. The Patriot Act now legalizes many things that, in my opinion and the opinion of many legal scholars, are in direct contradiction of our Constitution. I think that the political climate has not enabled right-minded people in the legal community to take that to the Supreme Court and overturn it.
If the cost of securing this nation is to make one minority feel uncomfortable for the time being, isn't it worth it if it makes the rest of the nation safe and secure?
No, it's not. I don't believe that a single individual liberty should be disposed. We have to make effort in this country to balance security with civil liberties. Look.
Political campaigner Osama Siblani is also publisher of the Arab American News, the voice of the community. The irony of their situation, he says, is that Arab Americans helped put the Bush administration where it is today.
We supported overwhelmingly George W. Bush, and he assured the Arab American community that that he will never forget their support.
Around Michigan, Democrat Al Gore beat Republican George W. Bush. But not here in Dearborn, where Mr. Bush won by 5,000 votes on a promise of fair treatment for Arab Americans.
2004 is very, very closing on us, and we will vote again. And this time we will not vote for Mr. Bush, if I have anything to say about this.
It's a community that's helped build one of the biggest corporate giants in America. The face of Ford began to change in the 70s as more Arab Americans joined the workforce. We asked to film Ford's assembly plants and for an interview about the contribution of its Arab American workers. The Ford Motor Company refused our request. A spokesman told us that with the war in Iraq, senior management did not want the company to be associated with the Arab American community. He said the company wanted to appear neutral for fear that it too might become the target of a backlash. Dearborn residents have raised their fears with federal authorities. Agents from the FBI, Secret Service, Border Security, Immigration and others came to town to listen.
I mean, you see the anger in the community, you see what's going on, and we need your help.
We have a broad range of people that we talk to. We do not target, we do not profile. It's a wide range of individuals that we talk to.
Will you go on record tonight in front of all these people, in front of the Arab American community, that if you get the order to round up Arab Americans and put them in concentration camps, you'll refuse to follow that order, you will protest it, and you'll resign?
That is not my personal view to support camps. As we said at the outset, this has been a model district, and there's no reason why I don't think we cannot handle these situations in a way that is fair, that treats people with respect, decency, and courtesy.
But as the night wore on, the promises of action were met with doubts. Did you get the answers you were looking for tonight?
No, not really. I feel that they avoided most of our questions, and I feel they don't have the authority to answer most of our questions.
Most of us want peace. Most of us want justice. We want to see,
the happiness that, the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, that is core to the American mantra and what America stands for. And we want to see that applied fairly.
Fairness, however, is likely to be a casualty of America's war on terror. In trying to save itself, the United States risks losing what it values most: freedom for all.
This is collective punishment. Today it's the Arab American community. Tomorrow it's going to be another community. No one is immune. When they take my right, they took the right of every individual living in the United States.
Allahu Akbar.